Hi, I'm Dr. Tom Lewis, founder of RealHealth Innovations. We're a health creation company, and today I'm going to present a workshop on the glycemic index. So the glycemic index is a measure of how much a food throws sugar into your blood vessels. And it can happen in any number of ways. So a really high glycemic food will throw a lot of sugar into your blood, and then you'll get the classic crash where your sugar will tail off and you'll feel lethargic. And what we're doing in America today with fast foods and snacks and whatnot is we're seeing this pattern of spiking our sugar and then crashing and spiking again. Now here's a difference with a lower glycemic food. And fats and proteins and certain types of vegetables tend to be fairly low in glycemic. Matter of fact, fats and proteins are considered zero. So what you do is we have a slow absorption of the nutrients into our bloodstream, so we don't see this huge sugar spike. Okay? And basically the amount of fuel that's flowing in from your gut into your vessels meets your energy demands. So you're just using that energy up and you have no excess. And anytime you have excess, this goes to fat. Let's go to the next slide. So here's really a honing in on what we just showed previously. If I have a spike, anything above this green line, these green bars reflect how much energy I'm using in any given moment, somewhere within here. So anytime I go above, say for example, a Snickers bar at 10 a.m., I get this huge surge in glucose, sugar in my blood, and everything above that will go towards fat. And then I crash, and what happens when you crash? You're below your energy needs, so you're hungry. So you have another snack, and you hit this vicious cycle. And this eventually creates something that's called insulin resistance and leads you to type 2 diabetic. And the reason why it does this is because when you charge your body and your blood with excess glucose, insulin follows. Insulin's the hormone that's called the fat hormone. It really just pushes sugar. So the excess sugar comes up, insulin rises, and pushes the sugar away to wherever it needs to be, into cells. But if your cells don't need the energy because you're not really working hard, then it just goes towards fat storage. And we get this process continuing again and again. So what happens over time is initially, anytime our cell, this is inside a cell, needs fuel, we have a little insulin receptor that opens the gate for the sugar to go in. Very simple. It's one for one. We're not hungry. We supply our body with the energy it needs to function. But when we keep charging our body with excess fast sugar, high glycemic foods, then what happens is some of these receptors for insulin aren't working. So what happens is we have to have more and more insulin around to push that same amount of fuel into our body. So we actually literally have to have double, even triple the fuel outside the cell to keep the cell working. So what happens now is we have all this extra sugar, glucose, and it goes running off into the liver and gets converted to fat. So the glycemic index, this is what the glycemic looked like in terms of our energy profile. Once again, here's the energy we need. A high glycemic food, wow, we get this quick rush, and then a lot pours off into fat for storage, and we get hungry again. A modest glycemic food looks more like this, but a low glycemic food, so you might have heard about the Atkins diet or the ketogenic diet, higher fat, higher protein, less carbohydrates, we get this kind of absorption profile. So you can see, number one, we never go over our energy requirement, so we're not storing anything from that meal to fat. Number two, the absorption's a lot slower, so what it's really saying is that as long as I'm staying in this green bar, I'm satiated, I'm not hungry. So when you're in this kind of a food regime, low glycemic, higher fat, higher protein, you actually stay fuller longer. So yeah, you may have comfort food that you take under stress or whatever, But physiologically, your brain or your rest of the body is not being told that you're starving and you must eat. So it's a lot easier to manage your food intake when you're dealing with foods that are low glycemic. So we have this connection here because we always think, our gut is disconnected from the rest of our body, but really the brain is driving everything. And the brain uses 10 times more energy than regular cells. So when you're hungry, it's really your brain's hungry. Now I talked a little while ago about how our cells could become insulin resistant. It means we need more glucose outside to get one glucose inside. Well, your brain is that exact same has the exact same set of cells, except they're 10 times more energetic. So when you have a problem pushing sugar inside a cell, the brain is affected even more. So the brain, all I'm simply saying is the brain drives your hunger. You've got to feed your brain. So our brain has specific nutrient needs. The fish group, the healthy fats, of course the good vegetables, the omega-3 fatty acids, nuts are high caloric but really are good for the brain. So if you can eat foods that look a lot more like this, then you're going to be a lot less hungry because your brain is going to be well fed. So the simplest way to do this is to follow our glycemic index, and we give this out to everybody, and it's simply saying go for the green. So we're looking at vegetables here. So potatoes, very high glycemic, throws a lot of sugar into your blood. Beets and corn, less so. Carrots, eggplant, asparagus, avocados, go for the green. It's that simple. And if we look at fruits, pineapple and papaya, very sweet, whereas the berries tend to be very low in glycemic. Go for the green, or in this case, go for the yellow, and you'll be much more successful at satisfying your brain and curbing your appetite. So a simple formula: limit carbs and sugar intake, consume high nutrient density foods, whole foods, things that feed your brain, the fish, the fatty foods, the nuts, increase healthy fat intake, brain food. And I actually say become a fathead. I'm not insulted if you want to call me a fathead. So that's it. Glycemic index is a measure of how much sugar a food throws into your bloodstream. And the lower the glycemic index, the healthier you'll be. I'm Dr. Tom Lewis with RealHealth Innovations. Thanks very much.